This is Jed Disler, and welcome to the Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. I encourage you and invite you to consider subscribing to the Piano Maven through our Substack page. And paid subscribers get free downloads at the beginning of the month, and we have occasional Zoom meetings where we hang out and talk about all things piano. So I hope you will consider a subscription. I recently covered the entire 2025 Van Cliburn International Piano Competition as a blogger for Gramophone magazine, and I was blogging online. I was watching and listening to the concerts online when I was in Milan for a couple of weeks, and then I attended the finals in person in Fort Worth at the Bass Performance Hall. And this whole experience with the Cliburn this year got me thinking about past winners and the trajectory of their careers. The 1977 gold medalist, South African pianist Steven de Groote, was a pianist whose recordings and live archival performances I had not really paid much attention to until fairly recently, I have to admit. After his 1977 Cliburn gold medal victory, Steven de Groote was thrust into a busy schedule of recital and concerto dates. However, he wound up scaling back this activity when he took a teaching position at the University of Arizona in 1981. He also was an avid amateur pilot, and in 1985, while practicing landings with an instructor near Phoenix, he crashed onto the Gila Indian Reservation. His aorta and one lung were punctured, in addition to many other injuries. After extensive surgery and a long period of recuperation, Steven de Groote managed not only to resume performing at full capacity, but he also resumed flying. How about that? In 1986, he took a teaching position at Texas Christian University, which is where the Cliburn competition's preliminary and quarterfinal rounds take place. Sadly, Steven de Groote died in 1989 in Johannesburg of complications from AIDS. He was only 36 years old. In 1993, the South African label Claremont issued a disc of live Schubert performances with Steven de Groote. This is a disc that is almost impossible to find, and I was hesitant about talking about a disc that is rather impossible to find. But if you can find it, it is really well worth hearing, and I just want you to know about it. It contains the A minor sonata with the Deutsch number 845. It's a 1988 live performance from Johannesburg, and it's an interpretation that combines great sensitivity and driving passion. The pianist really pushes ahead in the first movement moderato, but he proves quite poetic and flexible in the andante variations movement, and those fast right-hand runs have an amazingly effortless suppleness and lightness to them. The scherzo's syncopated accents and strategic rests make a pliably dramatic effect, while the rondo has a bubbling gaiety about it and also a gracefulness. It's really kind of light on its feet. I like how he performs this movement. Also on this disc is the second book of Impromptus with the Deutsch number 935. And these come from a performance at the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. And the booklet note says that this recording was published courtesy of the Van Cliburn Foundation. So I imagine that the concert was a production of the Cliburn Foundation, perhaps. The dynamic range seems a little bit limited and maybe a bit drab. I don't know if this was recorded on a full-sized concert ground or not. The long opening F minor impromptu is animated and full of good nervous energy. The allegretto, though, I think is too brisk and impatient, even perfunctory, as if Steven de Groote wanted to just get the music over with. I usually like a little more poetic breadth in this piece, although I never wanted to drag. But by contrast, Steven de Groote pulls back in the third impromptu, the theme and variations impromptu. For the opening theme, he pulls back, and also in the weaving patterns of the first variation. I love, however, his rapid, almost semi-staccato articulation of the runs in the fifth variation. They have kind of a show-off type of quality that the music can easily absorb. For some reason, this playing reminds me of Joseph Hoffman in the Andante Spinato and Grand Polonaise. It has that same kind of semi-staccato, super clear and light articulation that makes everyone else in the world sound thick, whoever plays this passage. Now, the final impromptu, the Allegro scherzando in F minor, goes at an ideally impetuous tempo. I would have liked harder hitting accents and more fervency, but then again, you know that I am totally spoiled by that amazing live recording from Lugano with Rudolf Serkin that circulates. It was on the Hermitage label. That's still my reference recording of this piece. But this still is very, very, very fine playing. As I told you before, this is not an easy disc to source, and I recently tried to find a second-hand copy online from the usual suspects, but I didn't have any luck. I did put the catalog number in my episode description, so if you are an avid collector, try to look out for a copy. I was lucky enough to find my copy maybe 4 years ago in the $2 disc bin at New York's Academy Records. And when I bought it, of course, I never suspected that I would ever be talking about it on a podcast that I had yet to create. This is Jed Disler, and you are listening to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. And I look forward to being with you for the next episode. Take good care.